In the 6th year of my daughter's birth, I finally saw through the reality that my wife had never truly cared for me or our daughter. To end this icy marriage, I resolved to take my daughter and disappear forever. But then an unexpected car accident completely disrupted my plans. I lost a leg, and my daughter's right ear lost its hearing forever. In endless despair, that wife who had always been cold as frost to me actually knelt publicly in the hospital corridor, begging me through tears to forgive her, vowing to protect me and our daughter for the rest of her life. After discussing with my daughter, we gave her a 90-day probation period. If she could prove herself, we would stay and start anew. However, on the 89th day, my daughter and I accidentally overheard my wife's conversation with the attending physician. Director Shun, when you personally orchestrated that car accident to save Mr. Zhou's daughter, taking Mr. Zhou's leg and the young lady's ear, do you truly feel no regret? Regret? As long as Ziqian is safe, I'll do whatever it takes. And if Mr. Zhou and the young lady discover the truth, what will you do? Shen Ruoshi paused, her fingers unconsciously rubbing the ring on her left hand, her voice calm, yet chilling. They never will. As long as they want a complete family, I'll give them one. So her so-called repentance was nothing but an elaborate lie. The warmth my daughter and I believed in was merely an illusion she crafted for another man. Every seemingly selfless act concealed icy calculations beneath. In the office, Shen Ruoshi carefully reviewed the medical report from the doctor and sighed in relief. Guoguo's ear transplant worked perfectly. Howren can finally be discharged. Now I can rest easy. The doctor frowned, disapproval coloring his tone. Madam Shun, no matter how much Mr. Zhou deserves this, he's not your responsibility. For Zhou Ziqian, you'd sacrifice your own husband and daughter. If this comes to light, the entire group will suffer. Is all this truly worth it? Shen Ruoshi's gaze darkened as she slammed the report onto the desk. My affairs aren't yours to judge. Ziqian only has Guoguo as his child. How could I bear to watch her suffer? It's just an ear. It's not like they can't survive without it. The doctor trembled with anger, unable to hold back. Director Shun, can you guarantee Mr. Zhou and the young lady will remain in the dark forever? If they discover you nearly ruined their lives for Zhou Ziqian, how will you face them? Shen Ruoshi fell silent, glancing at the family of 3 photo on her phone screen. A flicker of turmoil crossed her eyes. They won't find out. I know my limits. Besides, she locked her phone, her voice hardening like steel. Zhang Haoren and Guoguo need me desperately. I held my daughter's hand, fingertips number. B with cold, my entire body trembling uncontrollably. I still remember that day. My 5-year-old daughter lay in the hospital bed, blankly touching her right ear as she asked me, "Daddy, where did my ear go? Did it get lost?" That day, I sobbed until I could barely breathe. Hated my own incompetence, hated my failure to protect her, even hated myself for choosing to leave. But now, I realize the one I should hate most is Shun Ruoshi. My daughter clutched her mouth tightly, tears shimmering in her eyes, struggling to comprehend how the person who took her hearing could be the mother she trusted most. Shun Ruoshi closed the report, her tone light with relaxed anticipation. Since Ziqian and Guoguo have mostly recovered, it's time for them to return. Go make preparations. Remember, Zhang Haoren mustn't suspect anything. As footsteps approached, I hurriedly pulled my daughter to hide nearby. But we were still a step too slow and ran into Shun Ruoshi head-on. Haoren, Guoguo, what are you doing here? Panic saturated Shun Ruoshi's voice as her breath hitched for a moment. Exchanging glances with my daughter, we quickly wiped away our tears. I took a deep breath and turned around, feigning calmness. You were taking so long with the report, Guoguo, and I came to find you. We took a wrong turn and got a bit lost along the way. She let out a relieved breath, her lips just beginning to curl upward when my next words stopped her short. The report you're holding, it's mine and Guoguo's medical results, isn't it? Let me see. I took a step forward and reached out, my gaze remaining locked on her face. Shen Ruoshi's eyes darted evasively as she subconsciously hid the report behind her back. Let's look at it at home. There's no rush right now. Watching her lips pale slightly from tension, a cold sneer flashed through my heart. I withdrew my hand and turned to leave with my daughter. Shen Ruoshi paused for a moment, then hurried to catch up. She crouched down and pulled our daughter into her arms. Just like she had done for the past 89 days, her tenderness felt almost genuine. But instead of wrapping her arms around Shun Ruoshi's neck as before, our daughter remained stiff, her eyes as hollow as a puppet's. Shen Ruoshi seemed oblivious to the strangeness, holding her tightly until they entered the car. While fastening her seatbelt, she finally spoke with feigned casualness. Honey, do you remember Zhou Ziqian? His daughter was sick before, right? She's better now and planning to return to the country. He doesn't have many relatives here. I thought maybe he and Guoguo could stay with us for a few days. She watched my reaction cautiously before adding, "Of course, I'm just mentioning it casually. If you and Guogwa aren't comfortable with it, we can forget it. I don't mind. Arrange tea as you wish. Shin Ruashi froze, then broke into a delighted smile. Thank you, darling. You're truly wonderful. Being with you is such a blessing. I didn't laugh, just silently walked to the back seat and held my daughter tightly in my arms, tears glimmering briefly at the corners of my eyes. When we returned home, Shin Ruashi excused herself with some urgent matter and hurriedly left. I knew she couldn't wait to make arrangements for Zhou Ziqian. Seizing this window of opportunity, I sat down with my daughter for a serious talk. I wanted to take her away, to escape this disgusting household. The farther the better, preferably never seeing Shun Ruashi again. My daughter didn't object, but silently walked to the desk and tore apart a notebook placed on it. It was the diary she'd kept since the car accident, filled with fragments of memories about Shun Ruashi and me. On the first day after the car accident, my ears couldn't hear anymore. I asked Dad where they went, but he didn't speak, just held me and cried. Mom cried too. It was the first time she hugged me so tightly, saying she'd be my ears from now on. On the fourth day after the car accident, Mom came to the hospital every day to stay with me and Dad. She said she loves us so much and promised to protect us for a lifetime. I also told her I love her so much. Mom smiled. The 18th day after the car accident, I was discharged from the hospital. Xiaomei noticed I couldn't hear and made classmates laugh at me for being a deaf person. They said I was weird and didn't want to play with me. I hid in a corner and cried secretly for a long time. But it's okay. Mom and Dad both love me very much. The 23rd day after the car accident, the doctor uncle gave me a hearing aid. Mom said no one would laugh at me now. I showed Xiaomei my new ear, but she poked me with a pen, saying I'm a fake person who can't hear or feel pain. Tears kept falling uncontrollably as I held my daughter tightly against my chest, weeping brokenly. Guogwa, should Daddy take you away? My daughter touched the cold hearing aid, her eyes red as she nodded. Okay. I took out my phone, set a 24-hour countdown, and started packing frantically. Every minute we stayed here was torture for my daughter. Countdown 21 hours. I took my daughter to the kindergarten to complete the withdrawal procedures. Standing in front of the principal's office, I was about to knock when I heard a familiar voice inside. How is Guogwa's health? Has she adjusted to the hearing aids? Zhou Ziqian's tone was gentle, tinged with a hint of laughter. The doctor said Guogwa is recovering well, and the ear is functioning without issues. Ruashi, we really owe it all to you this time. Shin Ruashi chuckled softly, her voice brimming with sincerity. As long as you're happy. I'd do anything willingly. Zhou Ziqian paused, speaking with deliberate implication. And what about your husband? If he knew Guogwa received the ear from your family Xiaohua, would he blame you? Ruashi, I don't want to put you in a difficult position. That familiar tone made my stomach churn with nausea. Zhou Ziqian has always been this way, reaping all the benefits, yet constantly putting on an innocent act that makes people involuntarily try to please him. 6 years ago on our daughter's full moon celebration, when Zhou Ziqian wasn't even the main focus, he specifically posted a lonely birthday message on social media. When Shun Ruashi saw it, she immediately abandoned me and our daughter without a word, spending the entire night comforting him. Before she left, I begged her to stay, even if just to finish our daughter's full moon feast with us. She impatiently said Zhou Ziqian looked too pitiful alone, told me not to make unreasonable demands, and shoved our daughter into the arms of a nearby waiter. With eyes welling up with tears, I was about to leave when the kindergarten principal's belated arrival beat me to opening the door. Seeing me and our daughter, a flash of panic crossed Shun Ruashi's eyes. When did you arrive? Why didn't you knock? Noticing my gaze towards Zhou Ziqian, she hurriedly explained. Darling, don't misunderstand. I just learned Ziqian had already brought Guogwa back to China long ago. Ran into them by chance, so brought them to register at the kindergarten. I understand. I interrupted her, taking my daughter's hand to leave. Zhou Ziqian, however, stopped me warmly, his smile bright and confident. Haren, long time no see. He pulled the little girl beside him forward, introducing to my daughter. Guogwa, this is your Guogwa sister. Say hello. You two share a special connection. The girl tilted her head, curiously staring at my daughter's hearing aid, suddenly frowning. Daddy, her ear is fake. That's so weird. My daughter's face instantly turned pale, hiding behind me. My hands were trembling with anger. But Shin Ruashi immediately stepped in front of Zhou Ziqian, speaking stiffly. Honey, don't be angry. Guogwa's still young, doesn't know better. We adults shouldn't argue with children, right? Every word dripped with partiality towards Zhou Ziqian's child. My daughter stared at her blankly, eyes filled with shock. Just yesterday, Shin Ruashi had lost her temper on the spot when someone mocked our daughter's hearing aid. Yet now, she complacently shields the very person who hurt her daughter. So this is how it is. When the subject changes, her principles shift accordingly. The light in my daughter's eyes gradually dimmed. My patience ran out. I grabbed my daughter's hand and left without looking back. Behind us, Shin Ruashi stared blankly at our retreating figures until Zhou Ziqian called her name several times, snapping her back to reality. Countdown, 19 hours. That evening, I discussed transfer procedures with the kindergarten principal over the phone while my daughter sat on the sofa watching cartoons on her tablet. Midway through a crucial point in the conversation, the cartoon audio abruptly cut off. Puzzled, I walked over just as Zhou Ziqian's new social media post appeared on the tablet screen. The photo showed a carousel at an amusement park, Zhou Ziqian's arm around Shin Ruashi as they beamed at the camera. His daughter Guoguo widened her crystal-clear eyes and flashed a V sign at the lens. Looking at Zhou Ziqian's radiant happiness in the photo, before I could react, my daughter zoomed in on the image. She stared at the girl's expressive ears, examining them repeatedly. "Daddy, aren't my ears pretty?" My heart ached sharply. I quickly closed the tablet and coaxed her back to her room gently. "Be good, Guoguo. Let's not look anymore. Daddy will tuck you in." My daughter nodded, though her grip on my hand tightened unusually hard. After she fell asleep, I sent the transfer application to the kindergarten director. 15 hours left. Everything was nearing its end. Midway through packing the luggage, Shin Ruashi returned home with Zhou Ziqian and his daughter after their outing. The moment they entered, she spotted my open suitcase. Shin Ruashi froze momentarily before releasing the girl's hand and rushing to block the luggage. "Husband, why are you packing? Where are you going? Where's Guoguo?" She stared at me in panic, the fear in her eyes seeming genuine. But I didn't bother to investigate further, casually deflecting. "Guoguo is in a bad mood. I want to take her out to relax." Shin Ruashi let out a sigh of relief. "That's good as long as it's not." She left the sentence unfinished, then changed the subject. "Ziqian hasn't found a place to stay yet. Since we're all friends, I thought we could let them stay at our house for a few days." "Honey, you don't mind, do you?" When I remained silent, she hastily added, "I've already scolded Guoguo about what happened this afternoon. She knows she was wrong." "Look," I hummed in response, continuing to pack. "Let them stay? Do as you wish. After all, tomorrow my daughter and I will be leaving." With my consent, Shin Ruashi immediately eagerly ushered the two upstairs, as if afraid I might change my mind any second. 10 minutes later, a child's wail came from upstairs. My heart clenched. I dropped the luggage and rushed upstairs, heading straight to my daughter's room. There I saw Zhou Ziqian's daughter triumphantly stepping on something, clapping her hands excitedly. My pajama-clad daughter lay sprawled on the floor, frantically feeling around. My ears, my ears. Hearing my footsteps, my daughter Lu get up and cried out to me. "Daddy, I lost my ears. Help me find my ears." Her helpless, fragile weeping clutched at my heart like a vice, the pain stealing my breath. In an instant, I rushed to my daughter's side and shielded her in my arms. The little girl stumbled back in fright, slipping and falling to the floor as she burst into loud wails. Zhou Ziqian glared fiercely at me, raising his hand as if to strike, but paused midair before smiling meaningfully. "Zhang Haoran, how does Guoguo's ears work for you?" When the doctors said Guoguo's ears were failing and she might go deaf, Ruashi immediately helped me search nationwide for suitable donors. Who knew these new ears would fit so perfectly? Not only did Guoguo's body accept them, but her hearing's even better than before. "Tell me, whose ears are these really? I really should thank the original owner properly." My daughter's crying abruptly stopped as she buried her head in my chest, her tiny body trembling like a sieve. Zhou Ziqian's interest intensified. He deliberately leaned closer to my daughter and whispered, "Actually, there were several matching ears at the time. But to ensure surgical success, your mother specifically selected a 5-year-old child's ear, claiming it had lower risks." "Brother Haoran, look, your daughter's ear works so well on my daughter." Before he finished speaking, I could no longer contain my rage and threw a furious punch. Zhou Ziqian failed to dodge in time. Clutching his face, he roared at me. "Zhang Haoran, you madman. Let me tell you, the scar on your leg that Ruashi claimed was from a car accident? That's actually from the bone marrow donation. Not just your daughter's ear. Even the bone in your leg was Ruashi's gift to us. You and your daughter are nothing but Ruashi's spare parts bank for our family." Zhou Ziqian's face twisted viciously, yet his eyes sparkled with sickening excitement, stabbing me to the brink of collapse. My daughter couldn't bear to listen any longer. She wriggled out of my arms and stumbled toward Zhou Ziqian. "You stop talking. Don't you hurt my dad." Zhou Ziqian sneered, grabbing her hearing aid and yanking it off violently. "You little deaf thing." I lunged forward, shoving Zhou Ziqian hard, my hand already raised to strike back. But in the next instant, a sharp slap exploded across my face. Asterisk smack. Asterisk. Shin Ruashi, who had just arrived, stared trembling at her own reddened palm, her face deathly pale. "Husband, I didn't mean to, Her eyes welled up as she reached a shaking hand toward my face. "Does it hurt? I really didn't want." "Ruashi." Zhou Ziqian suddenly pulled her back, tears gushing like an open floodgate. "Ruashi, I'm scared." His daughter also tightly clung to Shun Ruashi's leg, weeping like a pear blossom bathed in rain. Auntie, they bullied me and Daddy. Heartache in Shun Ruashi's eyes gradually cooled, replaced by thick disappointment. Zhang Haoran, haven't I given you enough? Why must you antagonize Ziqian and the others? Cool off properly. I'll take Ziqian and them to stay elsewhere. With that, she left without looking back, taking the two with her. Watching her resolute retreat, her daughter instinctively cried out, Mommy! Shin Ruashi's steps faltered slightly, but she never turned around. After they left, the daughter grew utterly quiet. No crying, no fuss. She just pursed her lips and blew gently on my face. Daddy, does it hurt? What about here? Does this hurt too? Seeing the worry in her eyes, my forced composure crumbled instantly. Guogua, Daddy hurts. It really, really hurts. Countdown, 5 hours. I printed out the drafted divorce agreement and placed it on the coffee table where it would be visible upon entering. During this time, I received a photo Zhou Ziqian specifically sent. Against the floor-to-ceiling window of a luxury hotel, he and Guogua smiled brightly while taking a selfie in the mirror. In the background, Shun Ruashi was diligently straightening the bedsheets with her head bowed. I didn't reply, silently saved the photo, and forwarded it to my lawyer. New evidence. Countdown, 3 hours. I helped my daughter put on her coat and packed her toys and books from the room. Countdown, 1 hour. I took my daughter to the airport by taxi. On the way, I finally received a text from Shun Ruashi. Honey, I was wrong last night. I was too impulsive. I've already apologized to Ziqian on your behalf for yesterday's incident. From now on, you and Guogua should avoid them as much as possible. Immediately after, she sent 2 images of exquisitely wrapped gift boxes. I bought gifts for you and Guogua. Coming home soon. My daughter glanced at my phone screen. Her expression remained cold. Dad, let's go. I grunted in response and turned off my phone directly. At the same time, Shun Ruashi, who had stayed awake all night, pushed open the door to her home. Honey, Guogua, I'm back. Seeing the empty living room, she frowned, a flicker of unease rising in her heart. Just as she pulled out her phone to dial, she accidentally knocked over a stack of documents on the table while turning around. This is a divorce agreement? Shin Ruashi's face turned deathly pale, her legs buckling as she nearly collapsed. At that moment, the doctor's call came urgently. Something terrible has happened, Director Shun. The truth has been revealed to your husband, and the lawyer's letter has already reached the hospital. Before the doctor could finish, Shin Ruashi decisively hung up. With trembling hands, she dialed my number. Honey, answer the phone. Please answer the phone. After 2 rings, an icy automated voice echoed. Sorry, the number you dialed is powered off. Shin Ruashi opened our chat window, her fingers rapidly typing out lines of text. Honey, where are you right now? I know this is hard to accept. Can we talk this through? I was wrong. Where are you? Let me bring you both home. 10 seconds, dozens of seconds, a minute passed. The screen remained lifeless. I used to reply within 10 seconds at most, but this time I seemed steeled to sever all ties with her completely. She recalled my resolute figure packing luggage yesterday, remembered the hatred and despair that flared in my eyes when she slapped me. The more she dwelled, the tighter her brows furrowed, panic etching deeper into her expression. Shin Ruashi could no longer hold back, taking the stairs 2 at a time to rush upstairs. She took a deep breath and pushed open the bedroom door. Husband, I. The room stood empty, the black glass wardrobe casting blurry light shadows. With trembling hands, she pulled open the closet door. All my clothes had been cleared out, not a single trace of me remaining. As she turned to leave, her foot stepped on something hard beneath her. Shin Ruashi looked down and saw a glittering diamond ring lying quietly on the floor, piercing her eyes. That was the gift she specially bid for me in Paris on our 4th wedding anniversary. That day, she said to me, "Love for you is like this diamond. It will shine forever and never fade." From that day on, I treasured this ring and her promise in my heart. I thought we would walk together forever. Yet within just a few years, the diamond still gleamed brilliantly, but it was my heart and our marriage that had become clouded with dust. Shin Ruashi clenched the ring in her palm, looking up at the last remaining object of our union on the wall. The sweetness of our smiles in the wedding photo now mirrored the bitterness in her heart. She never imagined I would leave without a word, vanishing like mist. Stumbling into their daughter's room, she pushed open the door only to have her heart wrenched again. In the space filled with childlike whimsy, only a half-completed Lego castle remained on the floor, the gift she'd given for their daughter's birthday last month. That day, her daughter jumped for joy, tugging at her hand to ask, "Mommy, can you build it with me?" She lifted her daughter with a smile, promising without hesitation, "Of course, whatever Guogua wants to do, Mommy will be with you." But afterward, her attention had been wholly consumed by Zhou Ziqian and his daughter. Each time her child invited her to build the castle, she had brushed her off with excuses. Shin Ruashi staggered forward. With just a light touch, the precarious castle collapsed with a crash, leaving her frozen in place. The home her dog had painstakingly built lay in ruins, revealing the shattered clay figurine inside. It was from when she'd taken her daughter to a kindergarten parent-child activity, where they'd molded it together. Back then, her daughter had excitedly shown Shun Ruashi the finished figurine. "This is Daddy, this is Mommy, and this is me." Shun Ruashi had teased her playfully. "Then you must keep it safe. The three of us will always stay together." Memories of her daughter, of their family, of their life together flooded her heart like tidal waves. Shun Ruashi finally covered her face and collapsed to the floor, tears streaming uncontrollably down her cheeks. Now she was certain. Everything had spiraled completely out of control. Our departure with our daughter wasn't an impulsive act of anger, but a premeditated plan. The phone rang. Shun Ruashi hastily wiped away her tears and saw the name on the screen, Zhou Ziqian. As soon as the call connected, Zhou Ziqian was crying so hard he could barely catch his breath. "Ruashi, Bubwa suddenly says her ear hurts. Could it be rejection reaction? Can you take her to the hospital?" Shun Ruashi hurriedly stood up, accidentally knocking over the trash can by the door. Torn pieces of paper scattered out, bearing her daughter's crooked handwriting. At just one glance, her entire body trembled. Ever since she learned to write, my daughter has loved keeping a diary, progressing from simple smiley faces to doodle drawings, then to pinyin and sentences. She recorded her daily life and emotions in her own way, anticipating the day she could share them with Shun Ruashi. Initially, Shun Ruashi would patiently listen to her stories and share her own in return. But at some point, she grew impatient, later even locking herself in the study in disgust. A single door divided the home into two separate worlds. The person behind the door busied herself caring for her savior, while the little girl outside longingly yearned for her mother to spend their last remaining moments of mother-daughter time together. As if compelled by some unseen force, Shun Ruashi reached into the trash can, retrieving and reassembled them piece by piece. Day 50 after the car accident. I'm starting to adapt to the new hearing aid, and Mom has been smiling more often. She used to awkwardly turn her head away when seeing my ears, but now she seems to have finally grown accustomed to them. Day 89 after the car accident. Dad and I overheard Mom's conversation with the doctor. He said my ear was transplanted into another child. I felt confused and wanted to ask Dad what this meant. But when I saw Dad's tears, I didn't ask. Dad decided to take me away. While handling the transfer procedures, I saw both the person who took my ears and Mom. He was also saying I'm strange, which reminded me of Xiaomei and the others. The way they look at me is the same. I'm a little scared. Mom didn't stand up for me this time. I don't understand why Mom got angry yesterday when others laughed at me, but today she's protecting that kid. Is there something special about that child? 90th day since the car accident. Mom brought that bad kid and her father home. The girl deliberately pushed and tripped me, then stepped on me to yank off my hearing aid. It hurts. Bad uncle told me Mom gave my ears to his daughter, and even Dad's leg bone was a gift. This was the first time I saw Dad so angry, and the first time I saw Mom hit Dad for that bad uncle's sake. I felt wronged for both me and Dad. I think I'll never forgive Mom. Shun Ruashi tightly clutched these fragmented diary pages, burying her face deep in her knees as her body trembled uncontrollably. After a moment, low whimpers escaped her throat, building into heart-wrenching sobs. She regretted it, but it was all too late. The phone rang again. She glanced at the screen and hung up without hesitation. Soon, Zhou Ziqian called once more. Shun Ruashi raised her head, eyes blazing crimson with fury. Hitting speakerphone before the caller could speak, she snapped coldly. "Can't you take a hint? Don't you see I don't want to talk to you? Her ear pain isn't my problem. Call a doctor if there's issues. I'm not a medic." With that, she decisively hung up and muted Zhou Ziqian's number. On the other end of the phone, Zhou Ziqian's eyes instantly reddened after being shouted at. He clutched the phone tightly, his gaze filled with unrestrained hatred. It must be Zhang Haoran, that good-for-nothing, scheming behind my back. Otherwise, Ruashi wouldn't treat me like this. Zhang Haoran, I should have wiped you both off the face of the earth when I had the chance. After the plane landed, his phone lit up with incessant chimes, dozens of missed calls and messages, all from Shun Ruashi. At 7 p.m., I received Shun Ruashi's apology. "Husband, I was wrong last night. I acted too impulsively. I bought gifts for you and Guagua. I'm coming home now." By 8 p.m., she messaged again. "Husband, why can't I get through to your phone? Husband, where are you and Guagua? Please reply, I'm worried." At 10 p.m., her tone softened. "Husband, I was wrong. Please don't ignore me. I can explain everything. Husband, come back. I can't lose you. Can't lose Guagua." WeChat notifications kept buzzing as she sent one 60-second voice message after another. I frowned and threw the phone back into my bag in disgust. Every word of her apology makes me sick. If it weren't for the ongoing divorce proceedings, I'd never let her stay in my contacts. Holding my daughter's hand as we entered the hospital, the doctor approached. The scheduled examination is ready. Please come this way. Because of Shun Ruashi's betrayal, I no longer trusted domestic hospitals. For safety, I contacted a top-tier private hospital abroad to have her re-examined. After a long wait, the doctor handed me the report with a grave tone. Mr. Zhang, we confirm your daughter's ear was not lost in the car accident, but maliciously removed. Even though I had mentally prepared myself, the moment the truth was revealed, I was utterly shattered. It's all my fault. If I hadn't been clinging to Shun Ruashi's hypocritical love, my daughter wouldn't have suffered such agony. If I hadn't been deceived by her Jixingxing hypocritical reluctance, I should have divorced her long ago. It was me who harmed Guogua. It was me who destroyed her. A sharp pain shot through my abdomen. My strength drained instantly, and darkness engulfed my vision. Amidst the exclamations of the crowd and my daughter's screams, I lost consciousness. When I awoke, my daughter was asleep by my bedside, tear stains still fresh on her face. At my slightest movement, she jolted awake. Resentment, helplessness, and fear churned in her eyes before she finally threw herself into my arms, sobbing violently. During my unconsciousness, the doctors had performed a full-body examination on me. A bone had been extracted from one leg. The surgical marks revealed the doctor's extreme panic during the operation. Even hemostatic gauze had been left inside my body. Clutching the medical report, I looked at my daughter and asked with a deep breath, Guogua, if Daddy makes the bad people pay, Mommy might go to jail. Will you blame me? My daughter tightened her grip on my hand and shook her head resolutely. No, I only need Daddy. I turned away, wiped the tears from the corner of my eye, and sent the report to my lawyer. Get ready. I'm formally suing the hospital and all involved personnel. I'll make them all pay. Zhou Ziqian hadn't been able to reach Shun Ruashi for 3 days and had no choice but to take their daughter to the hospital alone. As Guogua entered the examination room, Zhou Ziqian dialed his 7th call to Shun Ruashi that day. The moment he pressed dial, he heard her familiar ringtone approaching from afar. Then he saw Shun Ruashi frown and hung up the call with visible impatience. Zhou Ziqian's eyes flickered as he quietly followed her. In the doctor's office, the physician paced restlessly, voice thick with anxiety. I told you this was too risky from the start. You insisted we could cover it up. What now? Shun Ruashi sighed deeply. At this point, we can only run. Take the money I gave you and leave the country as soon as possible. Don't come back. The doctor snapped angrily. Shun Ruashi, do you think I'm stupid? If I flee now, everyone will know I did it. You're not thinking of pushing all the blame onto me and that Zhou guy while escaping yourself, are you? Shun Ruashi's eyes turned frosty, revealing a hint of murderous intent. If I wanted to make you the scapegoat, I wouldn't bother with this scheme. Just investigate a few of the surgeries you've handled these years. That would be more than enough. The doctor's face turned ashen as he demanded sharply. Then tell me what we should do now? Your husband has sued us all. When this blows up, none of us will escape. Not you. Not me. Not even that child. Zhou Ziqian outside the door could no longer contain himself, bursting in with a shrill voice. What are you saying? That bastard Zhang Haoran actually sued us. Shun Ruashi looked at him with undisguised loathing. If it weren't for this brainless man's careless boasting in front of her, she could have kept this secret forever. At this thought, her voice dropped to an icy pitch. Do you want to shout loud enough for the whole world to hear? Zhou Ziqian immediately adopted a pitiful expression, though his voice remained urgent. Ruashi, think of something quickly. I don't want to go to jail. Guogua is still so young. Shun Ruashi rubbed her temples and sighed wearily. I can't find him now. Can't even get basic communication going. Enough. Zhou Ziqian impatiently cut her off, his gaze sweeping coldly over Shun Ruashi and the doctor. This scheme was your idea. The deed was your doing. Don't think you can drag me down with you. If you don't hurry up and find a solution, I'll go to the police and report your illegal activities. The doctor looked shocked, widening his eyes to retort. Zhou Ziqian, everything we did back then was for your sake. Now we're all in this together. Shun Ruashi stared deeply at Zhou Ziqian, her heart roiling with the flames of betrayal. She never imagined she'd sacrificed so much for him. Yet at the first sign of exposure, he chose to cut ties and kick her aside. Zhou Ziqian sneered coldly and continued. I'm just an accomplice at most, but the two of you are completely different. This sentence chilled both women to the bone. The doctor slammed the table in rage. Don't worry. If I go down, the first ones I'll drag down are you and your daughter. Every illegally transplanted organ will be forced to cough up. Zhou Ziqian flew into a rage, grabbed the water cup, and hurled it. How dare you? It was clearly you who broke the law. Why should I bear the consequences? Did I force you to do it? Shun Ruashi stared at Zhou Ziqian in disbelief. Only at this moment did she truly see his venomous heart. She felt overwhelming regret. For the sake of such a man, she had personally destroyed her originally perfect family. Zhou Ziqian. Shin Ruoshi's furious growl snapped the man back to reality. Zhou Ziqian's eyes glistened with tears as he approached her pitifully. Ruoshi, I was just too scared. I don't want to go to jail. Please help me. I'm willing to do anything to resolve this, even if. Shin Ruoshi's expression shifted uncertainly before she finally shook off his hand in disgust. Standing up, she smoothed the crumpled sleeve where he'd grabbed her. Zhou Ziqian, if you want my help, get the hell away from me right now. Without looking back, she strode out of the office. Zhou Ziqian stood expelled from the room, his unease thickening like tar. Her final words haunted him. What if she sacrificed him and the doctor to protect herself? With the Shin family's wealth and connections, this would be child's play. Once planted, the seed of suspicion grew rampant. That night, tossing and turning, he reached his decision: flee. If he ran far enough, maybe even abroad, the police could never catch him. He could start anew with his daughter, even if it meant never returning. Before dawn, he absconded with all the money Shin Ruoshi had given him, boarded the earliest international flight, and disappeared without trace. A week later, my daughter and I returned to China to prepare for the court hearing scheduled in another week. We didn't go back to our old home, opting instead to stay at a scenic guest house. Since returning, Guogua had been visibly depressed. I knew those events had cast a shadow over her heart. As her father, I understood her pain and hoped my companionship would help her gradually emerge from the darkness. On Shun Ruoshi's side, after using money to silence everyone at the hospital, she still felt something remained unresolved. Only after confirming all medical records were deleted did the doctor slightly relax. The day before the trial, the lawyer held a final meeting with them. In the cafe, the lawyer gazed gloomily at the two people before him, overwhelmed by helplessness. With such overwhelming evidence, victory in court was nearly hopeless. He silently prayed that sparing his clients from the harshest punishment would count as success. I've reviewed the case files. Frankly, if there's even the slightest loophole, all our efforts could be in vain. So tomorrow your testimonies are absolutely crucial. You must be clear about what to say and what not to say. Don't get trapped by opposing counsel. A single wrong sentence could mean at least 10 years in prison. Shin Ruoshi calmly sipped her coffee, yet her palms were drenched in cold sweat. Despite thorough preparation, she felt something crucial was missing. The lawyer continued. Regarding the father-daughter pair who received the donation, you must emphasize they accepted anonymous donations without any prior knowledge. Remember, if anyone slips up in testimony, this trial won't achieve your desired outcome. After leaving, Shin Ruoshi rushed straight to Zhou Ziqian's hotel. Mr. Zhou checked out last night and requested the hotel shuttle to take them to the airport. The front desk's words struck her mind like thunderbolt, leaving her stunned for a long moment. She dialed Zhou Ziqian's number, only to hear, the number you have dialed is not in service. What more needed to be understood? In order to protect Zhou Ziqian and his daughter, she had used countless connections to pull strings, finally managing to extricate them from this lawsuit. As long as he said, I don't know tomorrow, they could pass through unscathed. But he fled. She broke the law for him, exhausted all means to protect him, yet was abandoned by him once again. At this moment, Shun Ruoshi's rationality was devoured by fury. She made a call. Investigate. No matter where he's hiding. No matter the cost. Bring him back to me. On the day of the court hearing, as expected, I encountered Shin Ruoshi while holding our daughter's hand. Shin Ruoshi stared at me with bloodshot eyes, her voice hoarse. I'm sorry, husband. I wronged you both. I promise to treat you well from now on. Can you forgive me? I was truly wrong. I'm despicable. I deserve death. The once lofty CO now knelt on the street like a clown, slapping herself in the face while begging for forgiveness. As long as you'll forgive me, I'll devote my heart to our family. I'll make it up to you properly. I suddenly remembered when the car accident first happened. She was also kneeling and crying, begging for my forgiveness. Remembering those 89 days of feigned coexistence, I felt a wave of nausea. As I held my daughter's hand walking toward the courthouse, she suddenly stopped. Turning back, I saw Shun Ruoshi tearfully clutching our daughter's hand. Guogua, don't you want mommy anymore? If you don't help stop daddy, you'll never see me again. My daughter looked coldly at her, forcefully pulled her hand away, and said calmly, From the day I learned the truth, I didn't want you anymore. Due to Zhou Ziqian's absconding and irrefutable evidence, the trial proceeded swiftly. Shin Ruoshi unsurprisingly lost the lawsuit. When she and the involved doctors were taken away that day, her gaze toward me held complexity and remorse. But all of this no longer concerned me. On the day the truth was exposed, public outrage erupted, plunging Shin Group into unprecedented crisis. Stock prices plummeted. Employees resigned. Angry crowds blocked the entrances of the conglomerate and hospital, holding banners demanding thorough investigation into the legality of past organ transplants. The situation escalated rapidly. Within a day, news of Shun Ruashi's downfall reached overseas. A week later, my daughter and I underwent new transplant surgeries. Fortunately, neither of us showed rejection symptoms. On the first day home from hospital, I received an anonymous package. Inside were a video clip and several photos. Zhou Ziqian and his daughter were swimming in Bali. Immediately after coming ashore, they were hooded with sacks and vanished. When reappearing, both were tied to bloodstained hose. Pidal beds. The videographer threatened in broken Chinese. Scream again and you'll die worse. They stifled sobs but kept wailing from excruciating pain, having lost control countless times. I submitted the video to police, but only recovered fragmented remains. During our final meeting at the detention center, this time, she proactively handed me the divorce papers. I was the one who wronged you and Guogua before. I agree to the divorce. As atonement, I'll leave with nothing. I hope, when you think of me in the future, you might visit my grave. I sneered coldly. No, I'll make sure Guogua forgets she ever had a mother like you. With that, I turned and walked away without looking back. Shun Ruashi was sentenced to death for hiring a hitman to commit murder. My daughter and I liquidated all Shun